Today we got Tyler Christophel on the podcast. We got Jake Nomchev sitting in my chair, which is fitting because it's Jake. And then I'm taking over for Dom, spitting image of Dom. And, yeah, we're just going to chat with Tyler a little bit. We always, not going to lie, kind of figure out our topics of these podcasts roughly 5 minutes before we start. It's not for a lack of care, though. So we just feel like we do better on the fly.
And after all, we all have 3 gorgeous mustaches.
I feel like we need to address it before we get started. We should talk
up a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Everyone's made the comment.
Well, okay, so we went to Michigan for the teen CrossFit games. The 3 of us, we were the 3 coaches from Mayhem up there for the weekend, and I felt left out because Tyler and Jake had a mustache, and so then I went home and surprised my wife, and she was terrified. And now for like the past, week or so I've had it. Every time I get on a call, like with a client over Zoom, right, it's like a jump scare.
I think
like they look at me and they're like, whoa, where did that come from?
It's probably good, though, because the teenage CrossFit Games is probably not the best setting with 3 middle-aged men to show up with stashes.
Yeah, we said that having a mustache and a jersey on at a teen CrossFit game.
That was probably a bad look.
See, I didn't have the jerseys, so you guys had the jerseys.
That was wise.
That was a little bit.
It
was some left out.
It was all a little questionable. Yeah. We'll think through that next time. We'll come up with a better plan.
So no, it's not a requirement, but it's highly recommended on the staff.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get Mike and Sean and Dom, I guess. We're just a bunch of dudes. Poor Inga.
I actually did some digging. I know Dom's had one before. I found it.
Oh, really?
I'd like to see that. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
How'd it look?
I mean, it's pretty good. I mean,
right, shoot.
I mean, do we really judge a mustache by how it looks? Though? I mean, let's be honest.
Well, to be fair, he always does look like John the Baptist coming out of the wilderness. So, like, it's not like a mustache would be
John the Baptist.
Change up,
he may have had a stash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, anyway, get on topic. Tyler, most of you guys, I mean, if you've been following Mayhem for a while, you know Tyler Christophel or know of Tyler Christophel. But we're going to still do at least a little bit of background, which is such a general question. But give us a little rundown of your background in, we'll just say competitive CrossFit as an athlete, and then like transition into coaching. You can just kind of go, and then we'll chime in with questions here and there.
Cool. I started CrossFit in 2016 was my first open. Started at a gym out of Springfield, Missouri, and in 2016 my goals were to compete on a team at the CrossFit Games. I did that in 2017 and 2018 alongside my awesome wife. And then in 2019, made a decision to go individual. And then 2020 qualified for my first individual CrossFit Games. So, and then I've been here at Mayhem since 2021, still training as an individual.
Nice.
Now, you may have already asked this, I can't remember, but what was your background prior to that? Like athletic background prior to finding CrossFit?
Oh, let's see. Let's just go high school.
Yeah.
High school, I played... Like growing up, I played every sport that I could get my hands on. But high school, I did football, basketball, baseball until my sophomore year. And then I just went football, baseball. And then went into college, got a scholarship and played baseball in college.
Okay. Where?
I played 2 places. I played at a junior college out of Kansas City, Missouri called Longview Community College. And then I transferred to a 4-year school in Southwest Missouri called Southwest Baptist University, SBU. I was a Bearcat for 2 years.
Go Cats.
Go Bearcats.
So
Purple, right? You guys are purple.
Purple and black.
Yeah, I had a buddy play there.
Purple and black.
Yep.
You guys actually had pretty sick jerseys.
The unis.
Like unis,
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah.
In my senior year, I think we got the all-white Nike.
Shout out Corey Drummond. You know that name? Okay. He'll never watch this, but yeah.
just give it a friend shout out.
Yeah, it'd make me feel cool.
Yeah.
And so was it immediately after that, like you graduate, athletic career, right, is wrapped up in college, and then you're looking for something to transition to, and that's when you find CrossFit?
Yeah, so I actually did a CrossFit workout. I did barb. After the spring of my senior year, I was living with a guy who was like, this was 2012, so it was like the online CrossFit.com workout, and he was like, dude, you're pretty fit, like I had done like college baseball workouts and stuff like that. He was like, you should try this CrossFit thing. And he was pretty jacked. Like, and I had a background since I was probably 15 or 16. I was like, working out for like sport training. And I liked muscles too. I mean, speaking like bodybuilding's awesome, like old Arnie stuff. So he was like, you should try this CrossFit thing. And I'm like, pretty resistant to it. Like, no, I'm never doing that, you know, like. So anyways, I do barb on a closet pull-up bar, and after about 3 rounds, I think I went into my apartment bathroom and I threw up, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. I rested longer than you're supposed to, but I was like, I'm never quitting. So I'm like, I went and finished the workout, hated it. This is 2012, so I didn't do CrossFit for 3 years after that. So I did 1 CrossFit workout, and then I'm like, fast forward to 2015, I think, or it was 2014, and then I had a friend, good friend of mine. I was at a barbecue, and we actually watched Rich on Sunday on ESPN, and I was just there having barbecue, you know, and this happened to be on TV, and he was like, you could do that. And I was like, I don't think so, man. Like, do you see, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Rich, but like, he's pretty, like, I wasn't looking like anything like that at the time, right? I'm drinking Coors Light on Sundays, having barbecue, and he's like, no, for real, you could do that. So then in 2015, I started like doing CrossFit, not in an affiliate. It was I was working at a baseball training facility with these 2 guys, 2 brothers, Ray and Alex Kelly, friend shout out. Yeah, and Ray was like, hey, just, you know, I would work out in the mornings, and like kind of started doing CrossFit at that time. So it was like kind of a 3-year window after sport where I was like, just being a, you know, wasn't doing much, you know.
I know.
When did you believe you could start? Like, at what point were you like, I could go to the CrossFit Games? I'm like, I'm good enough.
So my first open, so 2015, I kind of have a wild story of how I got into the CrossFit gym too. So I did a buddy, the other guy, not my buddy who told me that like I could be good at this, his brother, who was also, so it was 4 of us running it, but 3 of us were working out a lot. He was like, hey, I'm doing a partner comp. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, yeah, man, it's in 6 weeks. It's in Branson. Like, it's in a parking lot. It's going to be sick. And I'm like, cool, man. Like, I'll go down and watch.
Only a CrossFitter would say that.
Yeah.
Parking lot will be
Parking lot
sick.
throwdown, right?
Yeah.
He's like, it's going to be sick. And I was like, cool, man. I was like, you know, need any help? Or like, I'm happy to come hang out and help or whatever. And he's like, oh, no, he's like, it's a partner comp. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even know they did like team comps, you know? And he's like, I was like, yeah, I'll be there. He's like, yeah, you're my partner. So I'm like, no, like I don't do CrossFit. He's like, you do now. So like we had 6 weeks to do it. So anyways, I get thrown into this like partner comp, and I got absolutely wrecked by the worst CrossFit workout I've ever done to this day. Like, trash. And I'm like, I'm literally never, I didn't even want to go back.
What was the workout? You got to say the workout now.
Oh, man. It was like 2 minutes between you and the partner, max chest to bar pull-ups. Into, it was like, I want to say it was like 2-minute circuits. And in those 2-minute circuits, after the 2-minute chest to bars was 21 thrusters at 135, max cal air bike. And while that person worked in that 2-minute window, this person rested, and then you switched. So it's like 21 max cal air bike, and then he'd rest while I did 21, 15 max cal air bike, 9 max cal air bike. When I'm telling you guys, I was laid out on a barricade because I couldn't walk, and I told my brother, I said, I don't think I'm going to come back tomorrow. I don't know if I can. So
That does sound pretty nasty, to be fair. Like, that workout sounds awful.
I did CrossFit for 6 weeks. Like, my snatch max was 115 at the time, and I could barely do, like, any muscle ups.
But you could thruster 135. Yeah, football. Yeah,
Those
right.
been there, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so anyways, after that competition, I kind of got involved in the affiliate level, and I trained for 9 or 10 months, and then I committed myself to it, did a lot of things right, probably on accident, and then my first Open in 2016, I won the Open in that gym. So there was like 3 CrossFit Games, team males, and I beat everybody on the team side in 2016 in the Open. So that's when I was like, I could be kind of good at this.
Did you, I think a lot of former athletes, like, you know, whatever sport, who get into CrossFit, they say a lot of the same things like, hey, like when I was playing sports, I know you genuinely love the sports that you're playing, but a lot of them will say like, I almost love training more than the sport itself, right? Were you that guy? Or, yeah, so like what was it for you that then like was like, I love this sport, like CrossFit, you know what I mean? Like, because I know you're not that guy. I know like you love the game of football, like you love baseball. So what was it for you that was so attractive about CrossFit, the sport of fitness, so to speak?
Ooh, man. Probably competing. Like I was seeing, it was first off, I didn't feel, I was a super late bloomer. So this is probably more backstory than we maybe want to get into, but I was super late bloomer, and I didn't feel like I got to fully express my physical self in college, even college sport, right? Because at 21, I was like 5'10", $1.70. You know what I mean? And I was like pretty talented, but I wasn't going to sign anywhere big, and I was pretty underdeveloped. Fast forward to 25, I start CrossFit. I'm 5'10", 195. So I'm like, I put on 25 pounds of muscle tissue and like pretty fast. And like, so that just kind of like reemphasized like, man, I still had more to give. And as far as like the falling in love with CrossFit side of it was probably competing. Like I was competing and seeing like that physical expression and seeing a lot of success in that. And I just fell in love with like doing what it took to get to compete to try to win. So the competitive side is what like really drove me to it. And CrossFit just happened to be that platform that I got where I got to express that.
Yeah. And you're from a family of coaches.
Yeah.
In competition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Dad, uncle.
Yeah. My background in that, and like I said, there's way more to this, but my dad's a college football coach, has been since I was born. He's 30 plus years now. My uncle's been in the NFL, coached. I mean, he was with the Buccaneers the year they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. My brother, super competitive college football player.
At the time, man.
What?
Would have been so nice.
Could have got us some, maybe at least like some seats in there.
I was at the game. Yeah.
I mean, hey, would have been cool. But long history and line of athletic endeavors in my family.
You are right though. Like, and it's interesting that there are certain people that really do like the competitive aspect, but then there are other people that they just like the grind of coming into the gym. And sometimes it's a mixture of both, but you do find just different personalities. Like I feel like the people who like the competitive aspect tend to like shine in in-person competition. Like that's just where they feel they can express everything that they've been working towards, right? And there are other people that I think get into that, the long weekend of semis or whatever it may be, and they're just like, this is not fun. Like, they just don't like, I mean, it happens. They get to Sunday and they're just like drained because that's not really what keeps them going. It's the, just coming in and getting better. But just different mindsets. And I think that from a coaching standpoint, how you coach those two people is different as well. So, but yeah, we can get into that later maybe. But.
No, yeah, I love that. I think I was probably a little bit less process driven and more on just go compete and win side. And a cool experience that I got was I got to watch my brother do it. So my brother's 3 years younger than me, but he really he inspired me from his journey with football because he really was all in. Like he was doing everything he could to try to be the best. He was a slot wide receiver. So and it was cool because growing up with him, you guys know, he's my number one competitor, right? He's my brother. We grew up, if you're crazy if you think our household wasn't a foot race or a fist fight or something over sports or something. We could hardly play board games, because my brother was if he wasn't winning, the whole family was plotting and scheming against him. They're cheat.
Our family doesn't try anymore. We gave that up.
Yeah, me and my wife had to give that up after we got into our biggest fight after playing Scrabble or something like that.
So Madeline and I can't even play play basketball together. Yeah, it's not her, it's me. It's all me.
Oh, it's our whole, it's our whole family. So just that competitive side, probably just all this to circle back and that CrossFit just probably allowed me to express that at my fullest, and I wanted to take advantage of that because I got to see some things come to fruition and get fulfilled through CrossFit on that side.
I think great segue into the why coaching. Yeah, because I'll just leave it there. Why segue into coaching? Is it that competitive drive that what? Oh man, I'm almost thinking you're okay, if competition fuels you, do you feel like you still get that almost vicariously through the athletes that you're coaching, or is it just how does that work for you now? What fires you up and what motivates you to go, I want to coach these athletes? And I'm sure that's difficult, you not being able to be them anymore, right? Because now you're retired, you moved on.
Sure. I think that's with any athlete finishing, that's a shared struggle, right? A lot of them run away from that, and they want to get as far away from it as they can because they don't get to do it, right? But I also feel like God's plan and story in my life was I experienced a lot of failures perceived or letdowns, and now it's less about living vicariously through our athletes and more about how can I share my experience so that none of them really get to experience that, if that makes sense. So I try to take that approach as not necessarily living vicariously through them, but try to help them fulfill to their fullest potential, maybe on all the bonehead mistakes I made, or if that makes sense. So maybe there.
Yeah. Can you share some of those? I mean, some people who've watched your journey or been a part of Mayhem, they've known some of your struggles, but give a summary of what some of those. major.
brief 5-year rundown.
Yeah. If you don't mind.
Essentially, try to make light of a tough situation for me. Is in 2019 was my first year as an individual. I tried to qualify through the Open. I think I was like 3 or 4 places short. That was the first year you could qualify through the Open. It was the AMRAP with 19 cal row, 19 wall ball. The rower smashed me, right? So 2020, I like set myself on fire and went on a mission. And I was like, I'm going to qualify no matter what. And I think in 2020 was my best year.
20.2 is like your best workout.
20.2
right?
was the thruster double under workout.
That's when I first heard of you. I remember watching somebody had like a highlight or something. I remember watching your score on that with the long hair.
Yeah, that was one of my higher finishes. Actually 19, kind of recircle back to one of your questions, was when I knew I could do the individual side. 2019, I took 6th worldwide in the squat clean toe to bar workout that Rich smashed everybody in and let us all know. I took 6th in that, and I was like, maybe there's something here. Like, besides just like, hey, you could be pretty good, like, locally or whatever. And then I kind of got some momentum rolling from that 2019 Open, despite not having, like, really the individual year that I wanted.
Did you go team that year in 19?
Actually, that was a cool year because I got to do both. That was the year that they did the, like, Rogues year with the teams, and I did Granite Games on a team. I did Wadapalooza on a team, and I also did the Open as an indie, and I did the MAC in Washington, D.C. as an indie. So I did, like, 5 competitions in, like, 5 months, which was awesome. At 28, my legs were feeling real good, you know. Couldn't do that now. But, yeah, so 2019, a little
Would
bit
you finish
short.
in the MAC that year?
6th or 7th.
Okay.
Which
how many did they take?
That year they took the winners, right? And if the winners had already qualified, remember they would bypass the winner and take the second place. It was like that weird sanctional backfill year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a guy by the name of JP actually qualified. I don't even know if he does CrossFit anymore, but he smashed the MAC. And I'll talk a little bit about that because this can kind of run into what we'll talk about a little bit later maybe is so 2019, I got hit by the rower in the Open. And then at the MAC, we did heavy hang snatches at 185 in first workout. There was a max snatch in the max workout, and then there was a snatch ring muscle up ladder for the final event. So I got 3 heavy snatches in the weekend and still was in like the top, you know, it was shooting. So I was like, there's some significant holes, right? So 2019 didn't go how I wanted. 2020, I had a pretty good Open, and I had a really awesome team around me too. Like, my wife was around, like, just a really cool training environment there. And I started doing some stuff with a coach, and 2020 had a good year. Qualified through the Open. Well, that was the year that everything shut down. So then what we did was we did the games online. So basically they flew a judge to the gym that I was at the time, and I kind of, which was not the experience that I wanted, but it was cool because I got to have my family around. And it was like, you know, my dad was there, and like my gym family was there, like setting up clocks and videos. So like we made it a good time, even though it wasn't the CrossFit Games. And then 2021, I came here and I did the quarterfinals here, and I was in 5th. Brent Fikowski was in 6th, and it was the Atlas Games online. And on the final day, I was in a qualifying position, thought I did everything I needed to do, and at the refresh, Fikowski had taken like 1st or something in that burpee clean and jerk workout, and he bumped me, which also hurt because I took a major penalty that weekend on a thruster lockout. So we tried to combat it, and then there was other things that happened. I think that summer where like there were supposedly some athletes that couldn't make it over, so we were like in touch with HQ, and I literally I showed up in 2021, and I went to like the check-in thing, and I was like, if you guys decide to change your mind that you want to actually fill those lanes in the end, I'll be here. And I brought all my stuff.
Nice.
So I'm like, I'm going to compete.
So how many spots were you technically out in 21?
So 21, I was 1 spot short.
Okay.
And then I did the last chance qualifier, which took the top 2 out of 20. Me and Angelo did that together here, and I took 3rd. Roman and Corone both snuck in there. And then so there was so like I said, the end of 2021 was like there was a chance that maybe, and we were talking and like, hey, this guy should, like 2021 was probably the fittest I ever felt too. Like I felt like really fit that year. Tough to take a major penalty in a semifinal.
Were you like that year? How were you feeling mentally and emotionally that year? Because you just gone to the games technically, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Or were you pretty hungry after that? You were like pretty motivated, or were you feeling crushed?
Pretty motivated.
Okay.
I had moved to Cookeville. 2021, I came here for the Atlas Games, and I also did the last chance qualifier here. And I got really surrounded by like the amazing group of people here, and they really took me in, and my wife too. And at the end of 2021 is when I moved here. So I made the move to Cookeville at the end of 2021. And I was pretty discouraged. Talked with Rich a little bit about like handling that because I feel like he had a little bit of that at really the beginning of his career. And then like got inspired a little bit to like just go back to work and just show up every day and do my best. And then 2022, semifinals rolled around. I felt very fit. 2021 and 2022 is probably the fittest I've ever felt at 31 and 32 or 30 and 31.
2022 is Syndicate. Was that in Knoxville? Were you in Knoxville?
Yeah, it was in Knoxville, but I don't know if it was called Syndicate or MAC.
Okay.
I think it was still the MAC.
Was it the MAC that year?
I think. I could be wrong, but I think so. Because I want to say, if my years are right, that's like when Hopper he won his semi that year, right? And that was, the MAC.
Weren't there, well, this might be a little off topic.
I think there was two.
There was two of them in Knoxville.
Right.
That's
yeah.
right.
But I thought the year, anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, keep going.
No, that's right, though. And I'm pretty sure I did the MAC.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2022. And then in the MAC that year, I took some costly no reps in the Echo Bike dumbbell snatch burpee box over workout. They had they decided to change the standard that morning to you had to keep your whole body inside the top of the burpee box get over. And I'm not saying that like there's a lot of things that happened that weekend behind the scenes that I probably haven't even talked about publicly, but it was that was a tough weekend. Those are some tough no reps. I had in another workout, I had a GHD split on me, like the pad split on me. And I also took a no rep on a handstand walk where they reforced me to re-walk the distance because it had to be unbroken. And I took it to video review, and they actually made me walk a full distance extra because it wasn't actually a no rep. So there was just like some compounding things. And
now
then
you were in the lead at one point that weekend, though, right?
I think I was in second or third.
Okay.
So I was in third.
You were smashing it, though, like a couple workouts in. I think
Yeah.
you were doing really well.
Yep. And then the final workout, my shoulders hit like total muscle failure and like fell apart at the end of an overhead walking lunge in 2022, which was like super heartbreaking. But there was some really cool things that came from that as far as my platform wildly, which
what place were you in going into that final workout? Do you
I think fourth maybe.
And how many did they take that year?
5.
And then you finished in
sixth or seventh.
So another one spot out.
And then I did the last chance qualifier, which is we did here in the studio, and it was like just getting started. And I think I was third out of taking the top 2.
So we probably shouldn't be here right now.
Why?
It's just bad luck.
No, man.
Bad juju.
No.
Yeah.
No. So
so then 23.
I think I took third or fourth out of the top 20 from the last chance qualifier for 2022.
Okay.
So 2 years, 4 times, 1 to 2 spots out. And I'm like, kind of like, all right, is this what I'm supposed to do? And then we were still here. And then going into 2023, man, I'm trying to think. What was 2023 story? I'll just finish with 2023. That was in Orlando. And that weekend, that was like kind of the opposite weekend. So I started out, that was the hand-over-hand sled pull. So I just, after the 2022 season, went back to work, like committed to going back to semifinals, giving it another try. And then
mindset then after that, sorry, real quick, was like similar to the year before, like highly motivated or starting to, like you said, kind of like looking around like, all right, God, like.
Yeah, kind of like if there's an opportunity, like I'm not opposed to it. Like I just want to walk in his will and like not try to force anything. And whatever happens, happens. And then 2023 was Orlando. And the first event, like right out of the gate, was the hand-over-hand sled pull with like the run, Echo Bike run.
Cyclical stuff.
Yeah. And like it wasn't a terrible workout for me. I took a terrible place. I don't know. I couldn't figure the sled. The sled was different. I couldn't figure the thing out. A lot of people made excuses for the lanes or for the implement or whatever. Like I don't have any excuse other than just like I couldn't figure it out on the fly, right? We didn't have one of those at the gym. I didn't practice with it, and I just didn't adapt. Like some of the athletes maybe would have or knew. I'm not sure, but so it was basically like fighting out of a hole all weekend. I was like in 47th after the first event. And then I think throughout the weekend I just kept battling, chipping away. And since I was a different style, there was like no pressure, right? It was just like, just go do the best you can do. I think I was like in 22nd overall at going into the final event. And the final event on paper wasn't great for me. It was like Echo Bike sandbag carry, but it had toes bar in it. And I was like, I knew if I could hang on. And Rich looks at me and he gives me the like, you know, you don't have to coach me a lot, right? It's not a strategy. You're probably sitting there.
I was actually standing next to you guys. Yeah.
So he just made a comment to me, and I was like, we're just gonna go. Like,
yeah. And there's something along the lines of like, freaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
So for me, I just sent that one, and that wound up being a good one. But I think they wound up taking like 14, 12 maybe out of that one.
I think it was
Hatfield was one out, right?
Yeah.
Hatfield was right in front of me, so I took one spot behind
14th.
Hatfield, so
Yep.
14th.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then 3 years, and then going into this year, like things kind of started to change a little bit different. I kind of started snowballing into coaching, and like wanted to get involved with the performance side and trying to do some things where I'm like doing more than just training a lot. So basically, that's my long-winded story the last 5 years.
And those who don't know, this year you were how many spots out? Like going into the last event, you were
You were in going into the last event.
Yeah,
What were you in official? What place were you in?
10th overall in the last event, and I knew that there was the last event this year was
Ring muscle up, bike,
Bike,
ring
muscle
lunch.
up, farmer lunch.
and I knew going into that event, from the outside looking in, people might not have, but I knew there was a couple guys behind me that would have been really good at that. So I knew I had to bite off a little more than I could chew going into that. And if like going into this year, my mindset was a little different, like as far as like qualifying and what I was doing, like taking on more athletes and doing more programming and trying to be involved in that side of it too. I was really just open to like, I've never been like a type to just like, I'm just going to go show up. Like,
I was
like
surprised
competing.
yourself, I think, a little in this last year, like where you were even going into the last event.
I still went to, and this goes back to like my why and thing. I still like, I'm showing up to win, right? Like even if the preparation might have looked different or whatever, the goal was still like to go there and qualify. And, I think after the final event, I knew a couple of guys were going to be like really good at that workout. And in testing, I knew that was probably going to be like my worst workout. Maybe I hit it pretty well going in, but yeah, I didn't. I wasn't able to do what I needed to do to qualify. So
kind of saw it on your face too, right? Like in those lunges, you had. It's almost like you came to peace.
Yeah,
it is what it looked like.
And honestly,
like on the floor. You were like, all right, this is it.
The hardest part for me was seeing everybody at the end.
Yeah,
because that's a huge part of my why. But there was some piece there of like, I remember in the lane, it was like there was a judge in front of me, and then I took like a no rep, which wasn't a big deal, and then so I got to go, and I'm like, I got to pull something out of somewhere where like it's probably just not going to happen, but I was doing my best. And then all of a sudden I took a no rep from someone behind me. So all of a sudden I look up and there's a head judge over me, there's a judge in front of me, and someone's no repping me from behind. And that's whenever I looked up, and I'm just like, I saw my wife's face and then a couple others, and my family was in there, and I was just like, man, like that's a tough way to go down, but it is what it is. And I was like, there's going to be something bigger with my story. So yeah. So yeah, it's been a long couple 3-4 years of like not fulfilling the goal, but all that.
It's like 6 events being 1 to 2 spots out. 6 total. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, 4 semis
and then 2 last
chances.
Yeah,
and I think that's it. I'm not trying to
it begs the question, right? Like where are you at mentally and emotionally with all that now? Are you at a place where you're like, I've come to grips with it, or are you still like, man, I'm still wrestling with it? Or
oh man, I wasn't prepared to talk about this.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Yeah,
this is a problem with us winging it. But it is. I mean, it's like right there. You're like,
well, and you're also like, I mean, you're how many months removed from that? We're 6 months out from, and so like, and from you making a huge life transition, right? From like full-time athlete now into full-time coach, right? And like you just recently moved back, like you're going through a lot of change, and that transition, no matter if you've competed at the level that you're at or even at a smaller level, but it was something that you did, like you put everything you had into it, and now you're having to transition into a different stage of life and goal, that's really hard to navigate. And like, I'm sure you don't have all the answers for it right now, but you've at least gone through a few months of it, and probably, I'm sure you've learned a lot. So,
I mean, it's a lot to unpack. I don't think we have like all the time to unpack all this, but I'll just like take a second to say like I'm super grateful for like all the examples that I've had in front of me, like all the leaders around me, like all the people around me, to at least put me in a position to do all those things and make all those choices as wisely as I best can. So to say that it's been like easy to transition, no. Full transparency, am I like happy or pumped about what my performance was in CrossFit? No. Like to be fully honest, like I hate it. But it's my story, and all I can do is like try to help who's next with it.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, just from, like, I don't know, no one knows the future or what's going to happen, but there are going to be athletes that you're going to coach that are going to have those same experiences.
Sure.
Right? Like, they're going to come up short.
Yeah.
And they're going to come up short time and time again. And, like, there's no one else that I would want in my corner, right, after that happens to tell me, like,
Sure.
I can look at you in the eyes and be like, yeah, he's not BSing me with whatever he tells me because I know that he's experienced this more times than I probably have, right? And so, like, he's going to be able to help me kind of navigate
actually empathize. Like, I had a counselor tell me once, like, empathy is the feeling of feeling felt. And so, like, you're going to be able to feel like what they feel.
Sure.
In a way that, like, you know, Jake or I couldn't do. Like, it would be sympathy. Like, man, I feel bad for you, but I don't feel what you feel. And I mean, yeah, that's you can go on a much deeper level with those people. And nevertheless, I think at the same time, what's important too is remembering, like, it's not necessarily having the answers for them. It's actually just being able to go, hey, like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Sure. I think
and I get it.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things. And I'm kind of learning too, right? Just trying to, like, right now, currently trying to learn as much as I can about the coaching side and all the why sides and all that, from transitioning into coaching, right? But I'm also still, like you said, I'm not so far removed to it that I'm still sitting and, like, hey, this was the lesson from that, right? And I think, you know, something that the community around me has helped me realize too is, like, there's just so much more than those performances. And like I said, like, I've always wanted to win, and that was always my goal, was to go in and win. But that doesn't mean, like, that deteriorates, like, my self-worth or who I am, like, who I truly am. So it's like, I feel part of it is just, like, how much better have I gotten at discerning that, being able to, like, be pissed off or hate it, and then still be able to, like, hey, I can still show up and help people and serve.
Yeah.
So,
well, there doesn't have to be. I think that's the thing I was saying was, like, there doesn't have to be these big lessons always learned.
Sure, yeah.
It could simply
exactly.
just be because I get to feel what you felt.
yeah.
And you get to know you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right?
And just, like, let's be honest, like, how many of our, and this may be a bad, I don't mean this to sound like our services are not worth it or they don't work, but how many of us actually, like, have athletes that, like, they say, okay, I want to win the CrossFit Games, or okay, I want to win this local competition, or I want to do this, or I want to do this, that actually reach, like, the full potential of what they want. That's very few. Like, there have been how many CrossFit Games winners in the entire, you know, I mean, 5, right?
Those are the exceptions to the
right,
rule.
exactly. And so all of them are going to come away at some point having fallen short. Like, it's going to happen. And so, again, just being able to kind of be there with them and just kind of be like, yeah, it just sucks, you know, and, like, I don't have an answer for you. I don't really know what's going to happen of it, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's not what defines you, right? And, like, you can, continue to pick yourself up and come back. So,
Yeah.
At what point in that whole journey did coaching become something that you were like, I know whenever my time comes to retire from professional CrossFit, I know I want to go coach other athletes in the sport. When was that seed originally planted for you?
I would say that's a 2-part answer. Ever since I was young, I always wanted to coach, and I always just assumed it would be through, like, football and baseball, just because it's my bloodline, and, like, it's part of my family. I just always assumed I'd, like, go work for my uncle or my dad or coach with them on a staff and then come up through football. So I always knew that I wanted to express myself fully on the athlete side, and then you get the, you know, I'll throw this in there, but, like, everybody's like, you know, you can't do that for the rest of your life, right? And I'm like, I'm well aware. You know, like, I've seen every athlete's life cycle, you know, especially that being, like, what I wanted to do. And, like, so I kind of knew that I wanted to, you know, transition into coaching. I didn't, like, obviously when I was younger, I didn't know I wanted it to be CrossFit. And then the second part of that would be I came in at the affiliate level, and I worked out in the affiliate, and amongst classes is how I started. And then I got on the competitive side, and then I started helping to run a gym, and then I was coaching affiliate classes. And
when was that? Like, when did you start coaching like classes and running the gym?
I started coaching classes in probably 2017. And mind you, I was also, like, when I started CrossFit, that baseball facility that I was telling you about, we were running, like, group baseball classes, which was cool. We were doing, like, hitting lessons and fielding lessons and drills. So I was already, like, working. I knew I wanted to work with athletes very, like, out of college. Even in college, I think I was helping, like, with some hitting stuff. So I knew I wanted to get into that. And I was working with ball players at the time in a indoor baseball facility. and then kind of transitioned into doing more CrossFit stuff. So coaching classes in 2017, 2018, started as like for my membership. And then when I started running it, or not running a gym, but like helping to run a gym, was probably 2019. And then, I took on some individual remote clients in 2019. And then,
that's why I share that with a lot of people too that I talk to that are interested in working with you, that it's like not a lot of people know that you've been doing this. You've been coaching individuals for 5 years. Yep. You've been coaching in general for 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. Like just a little like known fact.
Yeah, little tidbit. And I think
but it's important though, because like, you know, early on, like when I was talking with you, is you always get, I mean, it's like the natural evolution of the athlete. A lot of times you just go, now what do I do? And they're like, no, just coach other people. And I don't always think that they're that passionate about it, right? So I think it is an important fact that, hey, he's been doing this for several years. He's from a family of coaches. Like, you're not just the athlete who's like, well, I guess I'll just do this, you know, to make some money because I can't keep competing.
Yeah.
You know? So
like the role makes sense.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Like you just roll from being an athlete into coaching. And I've seen that too at the college football level. You know, like I've seen guys go like play and they're great, you know, 4-year multi-accolade starters at the college level, and then they roll into trying to coach, and it's just not for them.
And they're not good at it.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not their calling, you know, like they could give it everything they could, and that maybe they weren't called into it.
Yeah, some of the best coaches I ever had were the worst athletes. Like when you hear their
most
story.
of the good coaches I've had were not great athletes.
And that was a concern of mine too.
We only say that for ourselves.
Right. It makes me feel better and makes me feel validated.
I mean, here at Mayhem, I'm like, I fit very well into the role of not a very good athlete, but like could be a coach. But I'm saying all that to say you're a product of your surrounding, right? And when you're looking around, you're like, man, all these people are qualifying for the games around me. And it's like, I'm super happy for them, but I'm like, that's my goal too. Maybe I'm just a coach. I'm like, I shouldn't have that attitude about it. You know, like this is all experience for me to be able to help people someday. And even just lately, we were, my wife and I and her sister were talking about spiritual gifts. And we're like actually like investigating those, you know, like teaching or prophecy and I was just thinking, I'm like, man, I've like kind of always had a knack for teaching. Never knew what it was always like what it was going to be in, but now it's, you know, things are like making a little more sense with the story. And so kind of always knew, but didn't know. But yeah, I've gotten some opportunities lately that.
Would you say it was like like this past year of training as you were starting to take on clients? Was it in that process that you were like, oh, this is it for me? Like when did that officially click?
As far as like something I could do,
that you were like, I want to make this my profession, full time, and not pursue maybe football or baseball coaching or what you had thought you would always do.
I feel like there's just been little moments. There was never like an aha moment, just like little moments of encouragement or like even weird, like this is going to sound strange, but even like the letdowns in it, like I find myself like trying to challenge myself and trying to learn more like on my own, you know, design or like, I'm like, man, that's probably like a sign or something that I should continue to do that and keep trying to learn and grow and get uncomfortable. And I made the comment to you earlier, like most of the time I feel like I'm not supposed to be in the room, you know, like, but that's a good space, not like a discouraging space. Like that's a saying, right? If you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like literally like the opposite of that. Like feel like I'm the dumbest in the room trying to learn all the time. So I'm like, okay.
This morning I definitely felt like the dumbest in the room.
Felt like that
I
too.
was for sure the dumbest in the room.
We had
just
to
so you guys
context. We had a guest speaker come on, one of Jake's former colleagues / friends, and just talking about the science behind like pain and injury, and we were all swimming.
Yeah, he got into the weeds a little bit and kind of lost me a couple times. And I was like, I'm trying here.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
to turn my camera off a couple times so I didn't look too confused.
That's to me. I mean, go back to the competitive side. Like we're all very competitive. One of the things that really draws me to coaching, and in CrossFit in particular, and Sean talks about this a lot, how difficult the programming is for CrossFit. But even just table program design, how many aspects of coaching there are to what we're trying to accomplish. Like, you know, under the broad umbrella of coaching, there's program design, but within program design, you have learning about different energy systems, you have anatomy, you have physiology, you have pain, injury science, like how do we create rehabilitative protocols for athletes? How do we stay in our lane though at the same time, right? Like what happens when they get hurt? We have nutrition, we have the science behind nutrition, we have behavioral science with nutrition and psychology and emotions, right? there's so many things to try to not master, but be aware of. And that's what keeps me drawn to it. Because it's like, man, you never feel like you're really winning, you know, like there's always opportunity to get better.
Yeah.
Yep. Where are we at time-wise?
I've got more. I think let's go. You want to ask like the original? We're 45 minutes in. We haven't asked the original question.
So you've obviously came to Mayhem and you guys trained as a group, right? And now you're doing individual coaching. And obviously we've talked about we don't think that individual coaching is for everyone.
Right.
Okay. It's not. There are definitely pros and cons to both, right? What are some things though that you've learned and just been able to apply, because now you are not in a group, you're coaching people one-on-one, and even more so you're doing it remotely, right? Which adds in sort of an extra element and challenge of like not knowing what their community is and what their support structure is, you know, where they're at. But wanting to coach them individually, keep that community and structure in place of whatever they have there, and just the pros and cons between both, because there are, right? Like you have to weigh both of those when looking at which one may be best for you moving forward as an athlete.
Sure. How I'm looking at answering this is like, you're asking me like, how can I take what I've learned from what I experienced here and kind of apply that to the coaching side, right?
Exactly.
So my experience here was basically like plugging into the group training, but also becoming more mindful. And this probably snowballs into like learning about coaching and where when I knew I kind of wanted to coach, and like being around a group of people here that know way more about it than I know about it. So I kind of like subconsciously knew that. And when it comes to helping people out, is like almost coaching, when we talk about coaching the whole person, is understanding like what that person needs, right? Like you're exactly right. Some people can and will go train in the corner by themselves and do everything that I write for them. And then some people are like, I kind of miss training with my affiliate or whatever. And it's kind of like, as a coach, my job is not to just tell them what to do all the time as much as it is like help them navigate, hey, like maybe let's throw in an affiliate workout, or like maybe they are like in a position to maybe ask a couple people to come work out with them, or like that could look different for everyone, right? Or so yeah, to answer your question, is like I agree, and I think my experience here just helped me to understand like there were some times here when I'm like, I need to do rowing and overhead squatting, and no one else in this room needs to do that. So like my mindset was, if I have a goal, I have to commit to doing what it takes to get that goal, but also like have my cake too with like being able to train with the group and have fun with the group, because I do think that the community side of it is important.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a perfect model, so to speak, for somebody to be the best in the sport of CrossFit in terms of training, whether it's in a group versus individual or a hybrid of the two?
That's a tough one. Because, okay, let's look at it from like seasonal too, right? Like I think we're still learning in CrossFit. Like you actually don't have to do 17 Metcons a day, like in September, to be good in May, right? So maybe like there is no perfect model. It comes down to the person of like what the perfect off season for them looks like to be successful. So
meaning it is an N=1. It is like back to what you said, like some people can do really well on their own. Some people can't do really well on their own. Some people need a hybrid. Like,
but you also bring up a good point of like, it can even just fluctuate with the season, right? Because it can be one of those things where if you're going to, no matter, because we've all been there, right? We're like, your buddy like wants you to hop into a workout and you're like, I'll just do it, but I'm not going to go hard, right? And then you get into it and you just smash yourself, right? Well, if you know that that's going to happen, you're that kind of athlete, that'd be perfect for like prepping for a competition, right? Like when you need some intensity and you need a little extra motivation to push, right? And something sort of that carrot to chase. And so like with athletes, you can talk to them about that and be like, hey, we got this competition coming up, in a month or so. Why not every Friday you just give me what your affiliate's going to program if you're going to throw down with your buds, or I'll write it for you, right? And then you guys can do it together, right? And it can be sort of that prep. But then in the off season, they may want to stay away from that. Or it might be vice versa.
Right.
Someone might want the community in the off season.
Sure. So, no, that's perfect. And like even to like that point is like I have we have an athlete right now who I'm working with her, and she coaches in the affiliate level. And so we prioritize what she needs on Monday, Wednesday, and then Tuesday she throws down with like the groups that she coaches, which is like kind of that balance, right? Especially in the off season. I'm like, again, like you just going back to what you said of like coaching the whole athlete, it's finding out what each whole athlete needs. And to that point is like whenever intensity comes, if they're best of like having somebody hold them accountable, I guess you're kind of looking at like two questions. Are we reaching your goals? And is it, sustainable for what you want to do? And if that's doing an affiliate workout or throwing down with your class on Friday, then let's do it. I'm cool with that.
That's one of the most frequently asked questions that I get on the intro calls is like, what about group class workouts?
Yep.
Can I still jump in with my affiliate? And yeah, I think we just answered that question. The answer is yes.
And it's not only yes, it's like we would actually encourage
100%. That's what I say. Yeah.
To make sure that you're still reaching your goals, which are individual, and if you need those to work on, as long as we're making sure we're getting those priorities in place, like we absolutely want to keep a big rock of that being your community.
Well, if we're going to practice what we preach, which is saying we're going to do holistic coaching, we're trying to coach the whole person, we're trying to make you healthy, like, which, well, yeah, I mean, performance health.
Don't go down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but yeah, we're trying to, you know, maintain emotional well-being throughout this whole process, right?
Right.
Then pulling you out of your community can be one of the worst things that we could do for you.
Right.
Right. So that's usually never the answer.
Yeah.
I don't even know when it would be the answer. Except maybe seasonally, like you said, like right before a competition, that might be the only time to do it.
Yeah.
I would love to ask this, like, what have been some of the major challenges, or I will say unique challenges that you've faced trying to transition from being full-time athlete to full-time coach, that unique meaning like that you would face differently from what we would face? Like, what are some things about being a full-time athlete that actually made it harder for you, or have made it harder for you to become a full-time coach, if anything?
I think that's a good question. I think, so I could make a lot of decisions. First off, I want to shout out to Jake Lockert, because he was like kind of my experience with like having a coach that would like coach the whole athlete. And like, you guys know, my relationship with Jake now is like, it was way more than just programming. Right. But on that same note is like, as an athlete, I could know what to do maybe programming wise based on like how I felt, you know what I mean? Like I could do some things and had some flexibility as an athlete to like, I would do some stuff on a Monday and then come in on Tuesday, and it was pretty adaptable because I had that body feed, that physical feedback. Whereas like sometimes through the online and individual design, we don't know. Like we could write a piece and we're like, they text me the next morning like, hey, I can barely walk. I'm like, all right, maybe let's not like continue doing like run volume on Tuesday, you know, like, so that could be like something that I'm like having to learn is like the communicated feedback side and making those adjustments maybe on the fly, or like just getting better at, maybe I didn't have to be, I guess, as cognitive of that before. It was like, we did bench on Monday and I had ring muscle ups on Tuesday, but if I was wrecked, I would just scratch that.
Less planning. You could just go more by feel.
Yeah. But I think ultimately too, and you kind of touched on it, was like, that allows us coaches an opportunity to also have conversations with athletes of like, hey, I'm cool with you doing the affiliate workout on Tuesday. And I think that that's awesome. And that like helps your design and like your goals and stuff, but also gives us that coach conversation with them of like, I guess for lack of a better term, like, don't do anything stupid. You know, like, you know, if you got ring muscle ups on Monday and maybe maybe we have rope climbs or something on Wednesday, don't go do like a bunch of bench press and pegboards on Tuesday. Like, and to talk about maybe some why behind that. And like, maybe you are, as a coach, you're, you know, doing program design and stuff, but maybe she also coaches. So like, there's some transfer.
Yeah, teaching some autonomy for the athlete.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, you can give your athletes you need to give your athletes freedom and be like, hey, just so you know, like, I'm fallible. I'm going to make mistakes. I might wreck you the day before. You might come in and just be like, dude, I can't do it. Like, that's totally, you shoot me a message. Like, I'll try to, you know, adjust it or change it, but like, have some ownership in your training, right? Like, you know your body better than I do, no matter how long we work together. You know, it'll get better over time, but yeah, you need to be able to take ownership of that and take responsibility.
I had an athlete do one of the Mayhem compete pieces a couple of weeks ago. I forget what it was. It was a bunch of upper pulling, ring muscle ups or chest bar or something. And then the next day he came in, and his Saturday, like PM, is him throwing down with a bunch of friends. Not an affiliate like class workout, but it's like their thing, Saturday afternoon. So I let him just go do that. And he did like a bunch of chest bar. Like, he ended up doing like 200 plus chest bar and all this crazy stuff 2 days in a row. And then the next week he was commenting, or he was sending me messages like, my shoulder really hurts. And what's always annoying for me is like, they don't say that. They're like, hey, by the way, I did all this. Like, you had to go back and actually look at it and be like, you know, so same. It's like, take some ownership over it, which is a weakness of individual coaching that we need to address more often, which is like, hey, it isn't just like follow the plan blindly. Like, you know,
Sure.
like learn your body, have more of that intuitive training ability.
And even like to your point, coaching the whole person is like knowing which of your athletes do that.
Yeah.
You know, which ones would literally do everything you wrote. So like maybe I take a second look at it and I'm like, hey, just making sure we're not pressing 4 days in a row because they would do it anyway, you know?
Yep.
Which really should be our goal, right? The goal of coaching ought to be to develop autonomy so that they don't need us. And maybe they only need to like check in or something like that, which we say that, but then we don't actually do it in practice. We don't actually create that autonomy.
It can be really easy to just create codependency,
100%.
right? Where they just come in because they just get to be told what to do. And like you have different athletes, like some are more cerebral and are not going to be that way. They're really going to think through things on their own, right? Which is what you want to get people to. Then you have the others who, and oftentimes for me personally, like I found my best athletes are the ones actually who like, they just want to be told what to do. Like in terms of like, they'll just attack, right? Like they'll go. But you have to rein that back in a little bit. And you have to be like, hey, I really want you to think here. Like, I need you to be locked in on these pacing intervals, right? Like, you need to take some ownership of this because you can't go into things blindly because you're not going to be able to do that on competition day, right? It's going to require you to be more cerebral than you want to be.
That's a whole topic, codependency.
Yeah.
And how, because it kind of strokes our ego.
Yeah. Right.
You know, it makes us feel like we're needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes us all feel good, if we're being honest, but it's so unhealthy.
Yeah. But even knowing the athletes that need that and like how to help them off of it too, of like
wean them off.
Yeah. You gotta get them, let them fly. Kick them out of the nest
take that a couple
versus fly, you know?
Yeah. No, you're right, though. I mean,
graceful approach.
We all have a savior complex and want to be that for people. And so it's hard. Like, we can make the mistake as coaches of just being like, oh, yeah, let me just tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and sometimes you just got to resist that urge. You know?
Or just got to let them figure it out.
That'd be the rich way, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
I
have a good story about that, about sometimes you just got to cut it loose, too. You know?
And with that, let's end with this story.
I don't remember. I think it was the open. It was the, I can't even remember the workout now. He and I did it together. It was the, I think, row, power clean, toe to bar, muscle up. You guys remember which open workout that was?
Oh, yeah.
14,
50,
1,
40, 30,
repeat?
20, 10.
Yeah.
They repeated it,
like,
it,
right?
last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, maybe?
22-1.
And I think, so they released the workouts on Thursday nights. And we were training on Tuesday. And in my mind, I'm always kind of like, and I don't know, it's just like old habit or whatever. And I'm like, I try not to overdo like a movement just because we don't know what we're going to see that weekend. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, we were writing something up. It's like, 6 sets of like, I don't know, 25 toe to bar, 20 cal row, something along those lines. I don't remember exactly what the workout was. Maybe 30 toe to bar, 5 sets. So I went up looking at the workout, and the first thing I do is always calculate the volume of it. And I'm like, okay. And I turn and look at him, and I'm like, that's 150 toe to bar, as if he doesn't already know that, right? And he looks at me, and he goes, kind of okay. And I was like, well, we got the open on Friday. He just kind of goes, okay. Like, we're still going to do it anyway, So kind of like reeling that in of like, sometimes you just got to, like there's like there was a learning experience there, right? Of just like, he kind of let me like, we're going to do it anyway, and like we're going to figure it out, and we'll be fine on Friday too for like the amount of toe to bar that we're going to do.
Said you guys at the games level athletes, like, 150 toe to bar, we'll be fine.
Yeah, but I mean, that's my point, right? Like,
right.
He knows like I'm capable of that. We don't have to like have the conversation about it.
Yeah,
he's just
you're
like,
right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But
yes, yeah. Okay, I see the point you're making.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, good. Please. Can we keep this in unedited? Yeah, let's do it. Go.
Shout out to all 7 of them.
That is 6 more than Jake and I have.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Oh, man, I didn't think about it.
It's a good question.
I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not closing any doors.
How old are you now? 30?
34. Yeah, 34.
A year off.
Yeah.
When do you turn 35?
June of next year.
You'll be master's.
I think I'm master's next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. But my fitness levels right now, guys, is I did 150 GHGs in a workout.
Sonic Coke Zero. With
Unwisely.
yeah.
And I complained to my wife for 6 days about how sore I was, and she was like, maybe we should stop doing GHG sit-ups in volume. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say never, but
I crossed that bridge about 5 years ago. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Just come on over.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm enjoying the coaching side of training.
We'll see you at the teen games,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Honestly,
It's like, Tyler, you want to run with me? He's like, no, but you can have my shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
literally, that was me. Yeah, no, but I got shoes you can wear.
Yeah.
That was me. So,
All right. Yeah.
Thank
No,
you
it's
guys
been
for having
good.
me on. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks for coming on. Tyler's taking on 20 clients currently. Availability for about 20, right?
Yeah, we're pushing to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. We'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.